Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to do a video dedicated to forms. So forms are my preferred method of nail extensions. I was originally going to do a comparison video about tips and forms, but that will apparently have to be saved for another day, as I thought I brought my tips with me to school and I guess I didn't. So that will be a future video. I was gonna really compare and contrast them, but I guess I can do that without the actual tip here. Like, I can just talk about the difference, but I will have a more in-depth video on tips coming your way at some point. So we are going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of forms. We are going to talk about how to fit them, how to customize them, and really just how to be successful with forms altogether. So if you are interested in any of that, please keep watching. So the big difference between a form, which is this, and a tip, which is something that you put on your finger. I'm sure most of you probably know what a tip is. If you don't, I will do a video on it, I promise. Is that a tip is going on top of your nail, and a form is placed underneath of your nail. So this can have a couple of advantages. Tips, some people say, are faster because you can like pre-shape them. So you do everything kind of in your prep, and you're not building a nail essentially. I mean, you still have to have an apex and everything, but your platform is already there. You glue it right on. And some people say that it takes less time to sculpt because you don't have to size the tips. You don't have to pre-shape. You can shape as you're applying acrylic. So if the question is what is faster, really, it depends, and that's going to be my answer for a lot of things in this video. Tips and forms are not inherently, one is not better than the other. Really, it's a tech's preference. I have made myself familiar with both. I've used both. I learned pretty much on forms. Like, I started out sculpting, and I think that worked to my advantage. I would use like French tips, like the little white French tips, every now and then, but for the most part, I started sculpting. So when you're building an extension, you have to have something to actually extend your nail. You can't just, you could build it on there if you have the right product consistency. However, most techs use tips, and forms are probably the most common. There are those soft gel enhancements, the 1, 2, 3 go system, or the Après, or the jelly tips. They're kind of coming into popularity. Silk wraps are also something. Fiberglass, the fiberglass things. Those are also a way that I've seen extensions happen, but for the most part, tips and forms are the most common. So, as this is primarily a video about forms, I'm going to start to get into the form. So, the form is basically a sticker. It comes on like a backing, and it's sticky. Typically, there's a little here, like this one has a little hole in the middle. Some people say that this is that you put it on like the back, like you take it off and you put it right here for structure. Really, it's just the punch out part of where you put your finger. Sometimes though, I will cut this, like I'll cut it across like right here. If somebody, especially with these forms, if somebody has a really square nail bed, for example, like this one is really square on me. Like most of my nail beds are pretty curvy. Like you can see my smile line is curved. Don't mind that chunk. This one is obviously curved, but this one is pretty square, and my pinkies are pretty square. Mine are pretty curvy for the most part. But like somebody who has a square nail bed, like free edge, obviously, like, it would not fit on something like this. Like, let me show you. So mine comes up pretty high, but if my, you know, my nail bed ended, if my nail bed was straight across here, let's say, if it was straight across and ended here, you know, there would be this whole gap. So what I would do is I would take the middle part, cut it in half, and put it right here so that somebody has that square to settle on. You can get forms in all different colors, shapes, sizes. The most common form that I see are the, some people use the gold ones. I don't prefer the gold just because I don't think they stick super well. These ones are from Couture.com. They are pretty sticky. They're really thick too. Like, they feel really almost like cardstock. Like, they feel, it's not just like a sticker. Like, they hold their shape really well. Like, you could see I just kind of rolled it between my fingers. It's holding its shape pretty well. This is their new kind of form. I don't know if all of them are like this or if I just got like a different batch. I do have some of their old forms. Don't mind the like stuff in them, but these ones were more like stickers. Like, they were thinner, but they were still pretty sticky. You want something that's gonna hold on to you. Like, I put this on my finger and I'm kind of waving it around and it's still stuck. I also hear Young Nails makes really good ones, so they will be the ones I will be investing in next. Usually forms come in a roll of like 250, which if you were doing, you know, sculpted full sets all the time, that would last you about 25 clients. If you're doing, you know, 10 fingers. I really rarely ever do sculpted full sets. A lot of my clients like overlays or just gel polish, so I usually use my forms on like a couple of fingers, but you know. So these things are perforated so that you can, if you have like somebody with a really puffy nail bed, you can like tear them and make it fit better. And these numbers are really just a guide, and as are these little swirly things for, you know, like almond nails, you know, you go to the point and it just is to make your nails more uniform. Not really needed, but you know. So how to apply form. Okay, so there's this little perforation down here, so you want to open that up. Some people don't. I do, because I don't think it fits on my finger as well if it doesn't. So I'm going to form my middle finger. I don't want to, you know, just like stick my middle finger up to the camera. So I'm going to show you on the side view. So usually what I do, and this can be a hint for tips, or for forms, I like to leave a little bit of free edge on my nail after I shape them. And that's another advantage that forms have, is like, if I wanted to keep this length on my nail, you know, it would be really hard to put a tip on this because it would be in the wrong place if I put it at the very, very, very edge of this finger, like of this free edge. But that would be a lot of free edge for that tip to cover, and it probably would not hold on very well. And it would start to separate if I put it like right here and had all that free edge. Like, the free edge might not adhere, and that's more glue that you have to use. And glue is also water soluble, so if you work in like water a lot, or frankly we're washing our hands a lot now, or you know, hand sanitizer, that glue will break down. So that's another advantage to forms. So there's two right there. If your client wants to keep their natural nail length, forms are your way to go. Or if you have somebody, frankly, who has their hands in water a lot, then frankly gel would be the best way to go. Like a hard gel would be what they would want. But if they're doing acrylic, you know, or gel, really, you can sculpt with gel on a form. You can do anything on a form. You can do, you know, hybrid gel, builder gel. You just can't do like gel polish. So first things first, and the little tip is I like to close this so it looks like a teardrop. So you know it's, because this is going to be how you line up your form correctly. So I like to close the little edge of this. So I line it up and make sure it's lined up. It may not stick very well. There we go. So you can see it kind of looks like a teardrop right there. I'm going to secure it a little bit more because I don't want that length. And then you open up the back here. And then I kind of press down like this on top of it so that I can slide my finger in there. Sorry, my smoke alarm went off. We're grilling. So I am going to line this up, and it's pretty under my free edge. It's pretty snug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of pinching it down this way, making sure that it is pretty center. You know, it doesn't have to be like smack dab in the middle. I can see it's a little going to the right. Just kind of, you know, adjust that before you stick it where you finally want it. Make sure you have these guys down and adhering to your finger. Like you want to squeeze them like this. And you can also point it a little bit more down depending on the shape that you are sculpting. Typically almond or stiletto, you want to kind of angle it downwards a little bit like this. You don't want it to be like straight up and down. So that is how you fit a form. You can see it is pretty dead straight. You can kind of see though that, and this is good that this is happening, you can see there's a gap right here. Do you see where that is? That's a hole. So that is where we would need to customize this form. So I am going to go grab some scissors, and I will be back to customize the form, show you how to customize it to fit your client to make sure that they have the perfect fit. Stay tuned. Okay, so here I am. I'm back with some scissors. Ideally, I would probably use manicure scissors, like cuticle scissors, but I don't have any with those right now. So we are just going to take the form off. And then what you're going to do is, because I don't have a super square nail, I just really need it like, it's only up here that the gap was. I'm just going to take it like this and just make it a little bit more square. Just like this. And this is probably pretty dramatic. Might not even need that much. So you can test it before you open it. See, I think that'll be good. So again, fitting the form, we open the back of the tab. We close it up here. Make the teardrop. Like that. Squish it a little so that you can get your finger in there. And then you just kind of slide your finger in. And it should fit snug. Secure. Make sure it is lined up as nicely as possible. Pinch it right here. So see how I'm kind of tapering it in? Well, I know that, and see how it's really straight? I'm gonna do an almond. So I'm going to want to tilt it down a little bit like this. Can I kind of open it back up a little? So I want to tilt it down a tad. And I'm going to close it like this because I don't want them super long. So there's no sense having them super long. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So once you have a form fitted, there are certain ways that you are going to want to go about applying your acrylic, and I will be right back to show you that. Alright, so I have, I wiped this nail with a little bit of acetone. I protein bonded twice. So now I'm going to use my Young Nails Cover Pink powder, and I'm going to show you how I sculpt an extension with a form. So the first bead I'm going to pick up, like I said, this is not a super long nail. I'm going to take quite a bit of liquid out of my brush, 2 wipes. I'm going to hold it in the powder for 5 seconds. I'm going to drain this bead, and that's really important. So I'm going to set it back from the free edge a little bit. See how I'm not setting it right on the free edge? I'm setting it back from the free edge because I want to butt it up to the free edge like this. Now, I don't think I want it that long. So I'm going to kind of do this, pat it to one side, like so, because we're going for an almond shape here. So I work from my free edge first. And then pat the other side. It's always a little bit harder doing it for the camera. So I'll just kind of pat and pull, pat and pull. It's okay to go onto the natural nail a little bit. The goal is to not do it too much. So do you see how it's kind of pointing up a little bit? I don't want that, so I'm going to add a tiny bit onto the side here. I think right there. Just to make sure everything is covered. We can always fix in the filing. And that's frankly probably a little bit long. So then I'm going to, so I've got my free edge squared away. I do not take the form off at this point. That's not what we're looking to do. I can feel this curing up on me though. So I'm also going to grab my pinching tool because I like to pinch my nails. If you have a good pinch in the form, you really shouldn't need to pinch. However, I like mine really pinched. So I'm going to take my brush full of liquid, one wipe off, couple seconds in the powder. This time, I'm not going to drain it, and I know that this is going to be a weird angle. So I'm going to set it a little bit away from the cuticle area. I'm going to press it into the cuticle area. I'm going to press it flush, which means that I'm going to make it pretty flat around the cuticle area. And as you can see, my product is not getting away from me. But because I kind of have my finger pointed downwards, it's not like spilling on the sides. So now I'm going to pat and pull it down the nail, and I'm going to blend it the best I can. Like I said, it's always a little harder working on yourself. So as you can see, I was almost a little bit short right here. So what I'm gonna do, because that cuticle area is pretty nice, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get a pretty small bead like this, kind of wet. And I'm going to put it right here because this is my stress area. Now, this bead isn't so wet that it's completely, not moldable. It's still, I can still maneuver it without it like running all over me. And that's partially because Young Nails has a really nice consistency to work with. So I'm just going to brush it towards the top. And then I'm going to take it back, brush it to the back. Okay, I'm starting to kind of feel it cure up a little bit. Don't worry if it's lumpy and bumpy. We can fix that in the filing. That's not that big of a deal. But I am worried about right here. I do want a little bit more product right there. I can tell that it was kind of shy, I guess. So that's a little too, it's not enough. So I'm just gonna get a little bead like this. And I'm just gonna set that right there to make sure that I'm really getting it in the cuticle area. Now you kind of want to have your brush act as a barrier between the cuticle and your product. It is kind of hot in here, so this is curing up on me kind of fast. I think this side is okay, but I'm going to add a tiny, tiny, tiny bit right there. Like literally ever so tiny, right there. There we go. Right there. That's good. Okay. So I'm also going to add a tiny bit at the tip right there. That's the thing about sculpting is you can kind of, sometimes you'll like look and you'll be like, some days you can do it really, really well and you know, your nail looks like superb, and then some days, like I haven't sculpted in a while, some days you just feel like you need a million beads to get where you're gonna go. But so as you can see, I do have a pretty good apex right here. This is gonna get filed down a little bit because it's really not that long of a nail, and frankly I don't think I want it this long to begin with, but I can kind of feel that it's starting to cure up. However, it's still a little bit sticky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just touch it like this. You really shouldn't do this too much. I'm just kind of like trying to get it to cure up. Don't touch uncured product. I'm just trying to get it to cure up a little bit by like rubbing it so that it the heat from my finger will cause it to cure a little faster. Okay, that's probably good for pinching. So you take your pinching tool and you want to place it right there, and you do just kind of a test pinch first and make sure it doesn't like squish in the sides or anything. So it didn't. So I'm gonna pinch it using the middle of my pinching tool towards the middle. You really only need to leave it on there for about 15 seconds. You know, you don't need to leave it on there for years, because if you're getting it in that sweet spot of pinching, then you're gonna get it when it's still malleable and it's gonna cure up on you, so it'll pinch correctly. Okay, that's good. So like I said, you can sculpt over this, but for some, like I'm changing my nail shape, so like this is square and I'm going almond, you know, I might want to take away the free edge so that I don't see it, because I do want these nails to be nude. This is a gorgeous color, this cover pink on its own, so I really wanted nude almond nails, so that's what we're doing. You can kind of hear it's not really cured yet. You want it to be clicking more like that. Back here it's still wet. Up here it's still kind of wet. In the middle it's clicking. So I'm going to wait for this to cure up, and I will be right back. Okay, so this bad boy is cured, looking a little crazy, but that's okay with forms. So you can hear cured, tap, tap, tap. So I'm gonna file this real quick. So first what I do when I file is because with forms you kind of have it, sometimes it's kind of like scraggly, like you can kind of see. I fix my sidewalls so that they are coming straight out from underneath, and then I will file my shape like so. I like a little bit more of a rounded almond like this. And this is all personal preference. Whoops, I'm out of frame. I'm getting used to this new filming setup still. Seems like I'm changing like every other month. So I'm just gonna look at it like this to make sure that the point is relatively good. Still think I should go shorter. Like, that's good. That's good. I like that. I'm gonna start student teaching soon, so I'm trying to find a way to still have pretty nails, but also, you know, student teach and look professional. Okay, so now what I would do is I'm gonna come over on the sidewalls to make them nice. Like this. Usually I would do this with my e-file, but I don't really feel like doing that right now, so I'm going to take it back like this. I like to do this when I do almond because I think it makes it come to a really nice like point. Do you see that? My nails don't need to be super thick. I also don't want them to be super pointy because, you know, small children. So don't need to be super thick, but I'm going to take care of the back area with my e-file. I'm just going to use a fine drill bit, so I'll use my crusty dusty Kiara Sky 5-in-1 fine drill bit. I will use my e-file on about a 12 RPM. I'm just kind of going to go over the nail like this. And then I'm going to take my e-file. I'm trying to see how best to show you this. And take it around the cuticle, and I want to make that cuticle super, super flush. Super flush, because I don't want any lifting. So flush it almost looks like a snail. I really like this bit for kind of smoothing out stuff. So I'm gonna take it like this, just up on the sides. Sorry, that was kind of out of frame. Yeah, it looks pretty good. There is a little bit of a form underneath my nail. I don't know if you can see that little dark piece. It's just a part that like I missed cutting out. So I'm just kind of gonna take a really fine, like not a crazy drill bit because I don't really need one. Like I don't need a carbide bit for that. So I'm just going to take this pointy bit on a 6 and try to get that out. There we go. Like, yeah, we don't need a whole lot. We just kind of need to... Since I applied the form pretty well, I don't really have too much like overhang or underhang. You will kind of get that like a little bit if you do use forms. You might get that. So that is my nail. It's pretty cute. I like that nail. I like this shape a lot. So yeah, I hope that that video helped you at all. I mean, I will obviously do all my other nails, but for right now, that was the one I was going to show you. I hope this helped you in some way. If you have any questions about forms, feel free to post it down below. Be sure to like this video if you learned something, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So I hope you guys stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.